Hello and a warm welcome to The Federal. I'm Neelu Vyas. Shah Rukh Khan and Deepika Padukone star of film Pathaan, which was embroiled in a controversy for the last almost 1.5 months, has got a blockbuster opening at the box office. This film became a victim of the right-wing boycott gang, and now it has broken all records. The frenzy, the maniacal excitement, the delirium which is seen at the theaters almost reminds you of the era of 70s when people looked up with awe at romantic heroes like Rajesh Khanna or the angry young man Amitabh Bachchan. So the question we are going to ask is that what are the reasons why Pathaan has been so successful? Are there political and social reasons? Is the success of Pathaan also a battle for a tolerant India? I'm joined by a very special panel. I'm joined by Rahul Ishwar, who is a right-wing philosopher, author, commentator. Thank you so much, Rahul, for joining. I'm also joined by veteran journalist Parsa Venkateshwar Rao Jr. Thank you, Parsa, for joining. And I'm also joined by Siddharth Sharma, who is a social and a political commentator. Welcome, all the three of you on the program. And let me begin by Rahul Ishwar, because Rahul, if you just rewind the memory just a month and a half ago, people were just talking about this film for the controversies like Saffron Bikini, the Besharm Rang song, and it seemed almost like the film would flop because of this narrative which was built by the right-wingers. Now, what do you have to say? The kind of stupendous success which the film has got, and of course, the Saffron Bikini, the song, is still very much there as part of the film.
Three submissions, Niluji. One, Pathaan and the makers should also thank us right-wing in part because the huge initial publicity that Pathaan got was because of the right-wing and the protests. Maybe it was not intended by our friends in the right-wing, but it was also because of that. There was a huge controversy and interest generated. Second, I saw Pathaan the first day, rather the second day itself. I took along with my family, my mother, my entire family. So I liked the movie, even though it's slightly lacking in part. The movie, on the whole, is very nice. It conveys very nice message. It even invokes themes like Bharat Mata in a very deep and very positive, affectionate manner. And as we all know, Shah Rukh Khan is a son of a freedom fighter, so it's a very good thing. But the third point is, one more point is, Narendra Modi ji has rightly guided the Indian right-wing called dharmics or right-wing or whichever conservatives, whichever name you want to call it, by saying that we should focus on more substantial things. So it's a combination of so many different factors. If you can see, even in Twitter, the so-called boycott Pathaan has gone down, in a very low way. Even Narottam Misra, people like Narottam Misra ji has toned down the rhetoric in a manner. See, let us all be very honest about it. It was less about bikinis. It was less about what Deepika wears, but more about socio-political positions that Deepika ji has taken, or Shah Rukh Khan has taken, or Amir Khan has taken. And the common man, especially the right-wingers, had a beef with it. That is the reality. Even though we tell a lot of other reasons outwardly, but this is the real reason. There is a political, social kind of tug of war. And this is not shared by the entire right wing. There are many reasonable people like Prasoon Joshi ji or so many Anupam Kher. And I'm so happy that Kangana Ranaut came out so much open. Kangana Ranaut is generally regarded as a hard right wing who was even banned by Twitter. Kangana ji coming out and openly telling ऐसे films चलनी चाहिए, we should have movies like So overall there is a climate of positivity, and I would like to compliment two people for it. One is our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who rightly channelized the energy. Second, Shah Rukh Khan, who has always been positive.
But Rahul, the success of Pathaan, don't you think is a big slap on the face of the boycott gang, the right-wingers, because they were all the time mentioning that, the Saffron Bikini is against the Hindu sentiments. And I remember Narottam Mishra's comment where he said that, the people who are showing all this have a contaminated mentality. Now, what will you really have to say?
Let Pathaan's victory be everyone's victory. It is not a right-wing failure. Let Pathaan's victory be everyone's victory, and let us start a new chapter. Unless we start emanating and radiating positivity, unless if something Brazil versus Argentina match, every team will be trying to score a goal. Let that not be. We are on the same side. Let that be there, and that's the sign where people like Anupam Kher ji, who is widely respected in right, Kangana Ranaut, everyone coming forward and wishing Pathaan. May Pathaan great heights, and let Pathaan, and end by asking the same question Pathaan asked. Let us ask what we can do for our country rather than what the country can do for us.
Okay, let me go to Parsa now. Parsa, what now? Rahul Ishwar says that, all the right wingers have also come together to celebrate Pathaan, but just a month and a half ago, there was a boycott gang which was so active. What do you really have to say? Is it something more than a movie when you see and when you look at the success of Pathaan? Is it something more in terms of a social phenomena, some kind of a pushback to the repressive politics? As Rahul was also saying, there is a symptom of a socio and a political atmosphere which was prevailing. So, how do you really see the success of Pathaan?
Neelu, I think we have to look at it in two ways. One is that there has been general reaction. The rise of the right wing in the cultural sphere should be taken back to the 1990s. And this first opposition to the dominance of the mainstream Hindi cinema by the Khans was an irritant to many of the right-wing people who are mainly Hindu and mainly conservatives and reactionaries. We don't know how large their number is, but they are there and they have become quite vocal. So when Akshay Kumar and Hrithik Roshan came, they thought there was a sort of a balance. But in the Hindi cinema, it doesn't matter whether you're a Khan or a Hrithik Roshan. What matters is what you deliver in terms of entertainment, in terms of music. A movie succeeds or fails on its cinematic terms. That is why Akshay Kumar's Prithviraj did not succeed, Ram Setu did not succeed. But a film like Pathaan is succeeding because Pathaan, I think, unintentionally or intentionally, we do not know, plays into this nationalist frenzy. The Pathaan is an iconic figure in the Hindi cinema, who is the honest man, who's the hero, who helps people and all that. And in this movie, I think what I can gather from the reviews, from the trailers and all that, the Pathaan figure in this movie is a patriot, is a nationalist. And that is what seems to be appealing to everybody.
Is it something more, as far as the socio and the political atmosphere is concerned? Does the success of Pathaan really owe to these socio and religious factors? Because there is a feeling that, people cannot assert their rights. There is a repressive narrative which is all around. So this frenzy and this delirium which is seen, has it got to do something with that?
What I fear, Neelu, is that Pathaan as a movie feeds into this right-wing frenzy. It emphasizes patriotism, and of course, it doesn't go out of the way to do it artificially, because we know that in the Hindi cinema, for nearly 70 to 80 years, the Pathaan has been an iconic figure who helps people, who is an honest man. Here in this movie, it looks like Shah Rukh Khan has brought in the patriotism and the Pathaan together, which seems to work very well. So it is not a refutation of the right-wing frenzy, but it feeds into the right-wing frenzy.
Okay. So let me go to Siddharth. So what Parsa is saying, that it's feeding into the right-wing frenzy, but Siddharth, what people are not understanding is that it's the same people who were trying to boycott. I mean, if I'm to presume that 80% of the population is a Hindu population, and the feeling was that, since Shah Rukh Khan comes from a particular community, he's a Muslim, the way his son was framed and jailed in a drug case, all that has got to do, and throughout this period, he maintained a dignified silence. If you remember his speech at the Kolkata International Festival and the way he spoke about the positive environment. So don't you feel that it's something more? It's almost like a revolt and a rebellion against this pushback of the right-wing politics or the right-wing narrative which was being created about the film?
I think the Pathaan controversy right now is symbiotic of the Indian society that we live in. We live in very interesting times. And as we know that there is a story about Cry Wolf. The Cry Wolf story also, it means that it has run its course. Now, what really has happened, because I will not be commenting upon the picture cinema Pathaan, because I've not seen it and I'm not a very big Shah Rukh Khan fan, by the way, but I'm happy that the movie is doing well. Now, what is happening in India, because I think Rahul in his statements, he said something about tug of war and right wings. So I'm trying to use those words and trying to extrapolate what is happening. I'm not going to use the words right wing or left wing. I am saying that right now in India, in the last maybe 15 years or so, 10, 15 years, there is a tug of war between cultural supremacists and pragmatists. This is the tug of war that is going on. On one side, there is a set of people who are bellowing about cultural supremacy. There is another set of people who say that we have to take a pragmatic line. Now, what happens is that one, the cultural supremacists invoke the emotional quotient of people, whereas the pragmatists stimulate the intellectual side of people. So that is what happens. And this, we have to understand that as a human being, I am emotional as well as I am intellectual. There is no binary in which I can say that I'm just emotional or I'm intellectual. For example, somebody like me, I see myself as a progressive liberal person. But just today, Neelu, when you called me for this program, I was in a crematorium. One of my very close friends, 10 years junior to me, had passed away yesterday night. Suddenly, that was a painful moment. At that time in the crematorium, I needed philosophy. I needed certain answers. I needed spirituality. At the same time, right now, when I'm sitting with you on this television channel, it is not about any philosophy, but there are logistical issues, pragmatic issues. I need a telephone, I need internet, these kind of things are needed. So there is no binary between emotion and intellect. But what is very intelligent is that the set of people who are invoking emotion in people today, even that leadership is very clever and very intelligent. For example, if you see, when Mr. Narottam Mishra started off this Pathaan controversy, nobody from the ruling class, top-notch BJP, tried to stop them. But when they came to understand that now Pathaan is going to be a super hit, the same leadership quickly changed track and started telling Mr. the same Narottam Mishra that don't get into these things. Now, if he was not supposed to get into these things, he should have been reprimanded or warned earlier itself. So that goes to show that what is happening in India is that a set of around 3-4% of people are very clever. They are playing to the gallery's emotional quotient as well as the intellect quotient. And the pragmatists on the other side, they have to understand the pragmatists, people like you and me, whoever says that we are pragmatists or liberals or progressives, they have to understand that a large portion of India, human psychology always also needs certain emotional support. So the cultural supremacists are playing the emotional card very intelligently, but the pragmatists are not playing the emotional card absolutely. So in this melee, I am seeing the Pathaan controversy, because please understand that around 75-80% of the people have absolutely no problem with anything in India. They live peacefully. They live peacefully with their neighbors. They have friends from all religions, all castes. There is absolutely no problem. This problem is just created by the political class, and that too, that political class which wants to get into power. So this Pathaan controversy, what has really happened is that they tried to stoke something, and it ultimately ended up as a cry wolf, because 75-80% of the people, they want to go and have a nice movie. They want to see a movie. If I think you can relate to this, Neelu, your generation and my generation. If I remember, during my college days, Sylvester Stallone's Rambo movies were a super duper hits, and we used to watch them again and again.
Yes.
The storyline of the Rambo film, the Sylvester Stallone Rambo series, was the American support to Mujahideens. Isn't it right?
Right.
That was the story narrative. And now ultimately what happened was America themselves went to war against the Mujahideens.
Right.
So that is the storyline. So what happens is that people like a movie just because they have to spend some time, they have to get it's an entertainment thing. And to entertainment, if you impose cultural values, that is going to that is going to boomerang on you. I think the right wing understood this. This episode became a cry wolf baby for them. Now they are trying to salvage the entire situation by saying that Narottam Mishra, you should not say like this. Even other people are saying that no, let Pathaan also rake in the moolah. Even Miss Kangana Ranaut is also coming out in support of that movie, and Kangana Ranaut is coming out in support of Pathaan because next week her movie is going to get released.
Absolutely.
Her movie is going to get released. She has to get some good name,
Yeah.
otherwise her
Yeah.
movie is
Let
not
me,
going to work.
let me get in a reaction from Rahul. That Rahul, it's a matter of, I mean, it's a case of a cry wolf, as what Siddharth was pointing out. But my point is that don't you see this the success phenomena of Pathaan also as the fact that how people are shunning the politics of hate, how people are negating all this atmosphere which is so full of animosity and negativity. This is also another symptom which is seen through the success of Pathaan. Don't you feel that way?
I would submit any kind of politics into it as like overreading. As I know Siddharth ji rightly pointed out, there is always an emotional side to every nation. Usually the right people in the right invoke identity, language, community, caste, region. These are the things that are more identity-based politics is what right is all about, or right is more about. The left, as he said, is a progressive liberal. I am totally antithesis of progressive liberal. I am neither liberal nor progressive. I may be one of the very few Hindu right-wing conservatives who supported Shah Rukh Khan during Aryan Khan trial, who was totally opposed to the witch hunt of that Riya Chakravarti, when unfortunately our great star Sushant Singh Rajput committed suicide. So there are many shades. Plus, the more important part is, I think Shah Rukh Khan really kept that balance really well. We need a climate of positivity, not one-upmanship.
What was so objectionable about a saffron bikini, which became the central focus of the film? And what was so objectionable about the song called Besharm Rang? It was just a way of saying it.
If I can be brutally honest, ye to bahana hai. The reason is something else. See, we all know, we all realize that. Even people in right wing realize, see, when somebody mentioned about saffron bikini, it is more of because we have seen in Akshay Kumar movies,
you do honestly
even they are
it has backfired for the right wingers. It has backfired.
It's a matter of perception, but I would say even there are many people among right wing who believes that we should focus our energies on more serious things, more substantial things, more meritorious things. That's a realization that is coming, and we shouldn't unnecessarily take credit. See, if Lal Singh Chaddha loses, millions of rupees are being lost, and people are being lost. Or if Akshay Kumar some movie bombs, see, at the end of the day, we shouldn't go for a lose-lose situation. We should try for something like a win-win situation.
Why go that far? In fact, if you remember Amitabh Bachchan's speech at the recently held Kolkata International Film Festival, and for that, Parsa, I would like to come to you, if I may just recall for the viewers also what Amitabh Bachchan said. He just said that, I'm going to quote him what he said, that let us demolish the differences that divide us. Let us build a monolith with our diversity. Now, don't you think that the success of Pathaan is also in a way a victory of the inclusivity or the victory of secularism? Do you feel that way, Parsa?
I'm not so sure, Neelu, that the Bombay cinema, mainstream Hindi cinema, is just falling in line and catering to the sentiment of the day. The dominant public sentiment of the day seems to be irrational nationalism, big things and small things. And any movie, any story, any act which celebrates that goes well with them. If that's what I'm saying, if the Shah Rukh movie had been a dissident movie, I think they would have panned it for all the right and wrong political reasons. The movie, I think, plays the politically correct, patriotic message, and that's why it is succeeding. And also, of course, the Shah Rukh charisma is there. People love entertainment. People love good action. It's a thriller movie. And all that works, but underlying it all is that the filmmakers in Bombay understand very well that you have to cater to the dominant theme, and patriotism is the dominant theme now, and all the movies, including Salman Khan, Amir, Shah Rukh, everyone is playing into it.
No, but Parsa, one cannot help but ask that for the last almost 5 to 6 years, the way the Khans have not done well, whether it was Amir Khan's comment in 2015, and then we never saw movies,
They were sort of targeted, and they were critical. When they were critical, they were targeted.
Yes.
So now they have gone quiet and they are making just their movies, and the movies just satisfies the political elite of the day. The political elite of the day are the right wingers, the BJP walas and the RSS walas, then everything. So people are making peace with these people, Bombay is making peace with the right wingers, and it is working well with them. And it is not something new. In 1950s and 1960s, the movies were Nehruvian, movies were socialist, because at that time Nehruvian and socialism were the big themes, and the Hindi cinema played into it. And I think they are just adapting themselves, and I should not think we should be
Yeah.
shocked by it.
But
And when
also another critical angle to what I wanted to ask you was that recently, when Mohan Bhagwat gave an interview to the organizer, he spoke about the supremacy rhetoric of the Muslims, and he didn't know why they are having this rhetoric of supremacy. They should shun that supremacy angle. That was one bit. Then, few days later, at the National Executive, Prime Minister makes a conciliatory approach towards the Muslims, as he says, and he tells the party cadres to reach out to the Muslims, the Bohras, the Pasmandas. So, this, like Rahul was saying, that the Prime Minister's conciliatory tone also has to be given credit. So, is this another reason that why the entire system, it seems, is now propping up for the success of this film? Because on one hand, Prime Minister talks about reaching out to the Muslims, and then you cannot have a negative atmosphere for icons like Shah Rukh Khan, because he anyways is a transnational personality almost at the global level.
The basic thing we have to understand, Neelu, is BJP and RSS, even when they become very moderate, do not believe in cultural pluralism. They believe in that Hinduism is the dominant thing and everybody should fall in line. So any movie, any personality that caters to that message, they are okay. The reason Prime Minister Modi is reaching out to the Muslims now is, now that BJP has established that it's politically supreme, there is no opposition to it, it says we are going to speak to the Muslims from a position of strength. So it is not a genuine reaching out to people with whom you differ or with whom you respect because they are separate. The BJP in any of its, whether moderate or extreme, does not accept cultural diversity, cultural pluralism.
Right. Okay, Siddharth, I'll come to you. That many people are now celebrating the success of Pathaan as also a victory for tolerant India. That people are coming out in large hordes and telling probably the ruling dispensation that people are negating the negative politics, or they are negating those social trends which are full of animosity, hatred for minorities. Is that also one angle you would look at when you talk about the success of Pathaan?
I would rather go with what Parsavo has been saying. The success of Pathaan also depends on the storyline that Pathaan has taken. It's more of a nationalist storyline. That is why it is doing well. That is what my feeling is. Other than that, I have to make a point here that culture and morality, because there is no universal scale for it, it is very difficult to quantify. Whereas pragmatism and practical life, they are dictated by science, you can measure them. The problem with cultural supremacists is that they don't understand that culture is so dynamic in India that Vedas to Pathaan movie comes under culture. You cannot put a full stop to Indian culture. At some point of time in the past, that Vedas were Indian culture, or Upanishad was Indian culture, or Adi Shankaracharya was Indian culture. You cannot put a full stop to it. The Indian culture means Gayatri Mantra as well as Besharam Rang. That is what the spectrum of Indian culture is. Right wing, because it doesn't understand that, that is why again and again it gets into this trap of trying to take a very extreme position with something, and then it boomerangs on it. That is what has happened with what do you say, Pathaan movie. That is exactly what has happened. I don't want to read too much into it, that this is a secularism versus communal debate, or whether India is changing its tack. It is just the right wing is now trying to understand that the culture of India doesn't stop at a particular time in calendar when somebody says so. Another very interesting point that has come up. In India today, you find the political leadership going around sermonizing the citizens on every Sunday through radio. The political system is sermonizing citizens. Now, sermonization is something that happens through your scholars or through your religious heads. If I am under any emotional distress or spiritual, I need some spiritual teaching, I go to my religious scholars. I go to my dharm gurus to have a
Are you hinting at the monthly Man Ki Baat?
yeah, exactly. So so I also, because I'm a practicing Hindu, so I also have certain gurus with me. I've been given diksha by Shankaracharya of Puri. So whenever I need some kind of spiritual guidance, I go to my dharma gurus or I go to my scholars. Now what is interesting is that the political leadership of India is sermonizing people on culture, whereas very interestingly, a person, a spiritual leader from Bageshwar Dham called Mr. Dhirendra Shastri, calls himself as the Sarkar, calls himself as the Sarkar. So a religious person is trying to project himself as the Sarkar, and the Sarkar is trying to project itself as Sanskriti. So there is absolutely, what I feel is that going forward in India, there's going to be a next tug of war between the Sarkar and the Sarkar and the
Again,
religious
yes.
gurus.
I get your point, what you're saying, Siddharth, but my point is, I'll come to Rahul on this, that don't you think that the entire country is caught in a binary? Like on one hand, you would have the huge success of Shah Rukh Khan's Pathaan. He's a Muslim, a Bollywood star, somebody who has a transnational personality. But domestically speaking, if I may ask you that, will the right-wingers learn a lesson from what has happened with Pathaan, the way they were negating? But then again, you have people like Yogi Adityanath. Today only I was reading where he said that Sanatan Dharma is the national religion of India. So in this kind of a scenario, where will the right-wingers now stand? You have a huge, stupendous success of Pathaan, where you look up to Shah Rukh Khan as an icon. And all said and done, we can't overlook the fact that the way Shah Rukh Khan's family was targeted, the way he was silenced almost into oblivion for the last 5 years or so. His last movie, which was hit, was called Zero. And after that, we didn't hear of Shah Rukh Khan. And the general narrative which everybody was building, that look, Khan's to pit gaye, whether it was Salman Khan, whether it was Amir Khan, whether it was Shah Rukh Khan. And suddenly it's almost like a re-emergence from the ashes. So how do you fit in these binaries? The success of Pathaan, and then you have people like Yogi Adityanath saying, no, Sanatan Dharma is the national religion.
Two submissions. One, I would respectfully and strongly disagree with Siddharji when he equates or takes Gayatri Mantra and Vaishnav in the same line. But I concede the point. Yes, we had 60 years of Nehruvian secularism. See, this Nehruvian secularism in effect negated the Hindu identity. The Nehruvian secularism thrived at the cost of Hindu identity. It was the instance of the past 60 years. Had it been Gandhian secularism instead of Nehruvian secularism, people would have accommodated it more. Gandhi had a more positive Hindu-Muslim unity kind of approach, where he accepted his Hindu identity. Gandhi had Ramarajya, Gandhi had Raghupati Raghava, Rajaram, but he also added, Gandhiji cleverly inserted the lines, Ishwar Allah Tero Naam. It was not in the original Raghupati Raghava Rajaram text. Gandhiji consciously added because he wanted that kind of a unity and pluralism, and that is welcome. Even if you see RSS, all the philosophers, they all accept Mahatma Gandhi. Of course, the hardliners like Godse, who once left RSS, were very critical. But Pujaniya Sarsang Chalak Guruji Golwalkar called Mahatma Gandhi Pratasmaraniya or Vishwavandaniya. So when you need bridge building for the binary, every nation will have these kind of different groups. And I believe Modi ji has emerged or is emerging a kind of a bridge builder where he genuinely talks about Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas. He talks about the Muslim friend who stayed with him in his home, and his mother cooks special food for him in Eid. He reaches out to various Bora community, he reaches out to Muslim community. So he is trying to do a fine bridge building act along with balancing.
Siddharth, the same question to you. How do we build that bridge? As long as Modi ji talks about his affinity for the Muslim community, but at the same time, he has people like Sadhvi Pragya Thakur, and for that matter, all these fringe elements like Dhirendra Shastri, and which you just spoke about. How will this bridge be built? And will the government really learn some lessons after the success of Pathaan?
How strong a bridge is depends upon how strong its foundations are. So right now, I don't know how strong the foundation is for the current leadership in India to take Gandhiji's line, because Gandhiji's line with Muslims was not symbolic that he had some good interaction with some Muslims at some point of time in the past. It was an ongoing process, daily, day in and day out. he tried to get into the multi-faith issues. Even in his daily prayers, he used multi-faith. As Rahul said, Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram, Ishwar Allah Tero Naam, and this prayer was sung twice, thrice a day in Gandhiji, and Gandhiji himself sung it. So there is a continuous process and there is a symbolic process. So I did not go into that. It's up to the people in power to understand whether the point here is that whether today power is a very strange thing. Power keeps on. It's like Lakshmi. It's like a currency note. It's in my pocket today. It will shift to somebody else's pocket tomorrow. Even in India, BJP, although it is in power in the center, but it's not that it's across India. In every state, BJP is in power. So power is something which keeps on shifting. So we have to, if we are real nationalists, if we think about India, if we have pride in India, then our India, what a vision of India has to be built, transgressing upon, it has to transgress upon power politics. So there has to be a visionary statement. There has to be a visionary goal. And that visionary goal will come when we accept that culture is a thing whose dimensions, whose spectrum is so wide that I cannot put a full stop to culture, that our culture is so and so as on that date. There is no cutoff date for culture, including today. Including today is our culture. What I am feeling today, the lives I am living today is also culture. My grandfathers used to move around in bullock carts. That was also Indian culture, and I'm proud of it. And my kids today are moving in cars, and that is also Indian culture. We cannot put a full stop that what my grandfathers did was culture, and what we are today doing is corruption of culture. That is not so. So I think it's not about the people in power, what they do or they do not do. Do they have a vision for India? For a vision of India, 140 crore people to live together, besides emotional issues, you have to give them certain pragmatic, practical solutions. Unless practical policies are there for India, I don't think that growth for India will happen. Howsoever good intentioned anybody is. It's not about intentions, it's about competency.
Okay. Towards the last lap of this discussion, I'll come to you, Rahul, that from whatever we have gathered from this discussion, there are various threads which owe hugely to the success of Pathaan, whether it is the spirit of nationalism, whether it is the way people have shunned the negative politics, the politics of hate, the politics of animosity. It's almost like a new emergence of an inclusive spirit in cinema, which people are seeing in Pathaan. Are we going to see some kind of a moderation on the part of these rabid right-wingers?
2 points. Thank you for your kind word. But I always maintain I'm anti-progressive because I believe in a traditional, conservative, but positive and pluralistic space. Yes, we need better bridge building. We need to realize that there may be different kind of orientation. You call it right, you call it left, you call it progressive, you call it conservative, you call it liberal, you call it traditional, whichever way you want to call it. There will always be this kind of variations in the world. And we have to honestly understand and we have to balance. We have to honestly understand and we have to synergize. Second, let Pathaan and the movie, I think there is a beautiful quote from Holy Quran 41:34, which says negativity cannot be won over by negativity. It can only be won over by positivity. Similar sentiments are expressed in Bhagavad Gita or in Holy Bible, where you say darkness cannot be defeated with darkness. You can only do that with light and positivity. That sounds like a movie dialogue for me when I was young, but later I realized that's the only truth. That's the only truth which we can work. So that kind of a balanced attitude needs to be there. We need to have a cultural balance and we need to reduce negativity as a factor. And just one line too, Narendra Modi ji has gone on record that he will never forgive Sadhvi Pragya for the comment against Mahatma Gandhi and calling Godse a patriot. So people like Modi ji has consistently taken a more center-right or centrist kind of line where he has taken to task, or even people like from the Karnataka MP Ananda Kumar, who said Gandhiji was doing drama. So they have been rebuked. We need unity and we need people who can merge that balance. And I hope more and more people will come to the positive path where we will still disagree. We will still fight out in channels. We will still attack each other through social media. But at the end of the day, we will realize we are Indians and we are humans, and we should have a positive common ground so that everybody can thrive. The words like nationalism and secularism, with due respect, have lost some kind of sheen. We need to reinvent these words. The word nationalism is bad for the left liberals. The word secularism is bad for us right-wingers. We need to have words like patriotism and pluralism. Tomorrow they will also,
perhaps.
Tomorrow they will also lose the sheen. Some other word will come. See, the issue is with sometimes you need to reinvent these words. The same nationalism can be represented as patriotism. The same secularism can be represented as pluralism. So we need to reinvent these words so that they lose the staleness. That kind of cliche has definitely come. So let us be patriotic and pluralistic and inclusive. Let us agree to disagree without being disagreeable.
Absolutely. And on that note, I would just add that perhaps after a long spell of silence, Pathaan has united the country in a manner which nobody expected. What are the factors? You could just keep discussing, you could keep dissecting over the coming weeks, but Pathaan is a huge success, as many forces were trying to, push towards those efforts that the movie is a big flop. So all that has proven otherwise. Thank you so much, Siddharth and Rahul. It was a pleasure having you on the program. Parsa is not there with us. Thank you so much, Parsa, as well. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more interesting updates.